Hey, hello. It's 6 p.m. and it is Saturday, June 12th. And my name is Erica. I'm Bernando's oldest grandchild, and we are here for our monthly reading from Bernando's classic book, Age Less, Live More, Achieving Health and Vitality at 107 Years and Beyond. I've really been enjoying doing these monthlies, and I hope that you're enjoying them too and getting a lot out of them. So today we are going to be reading about the next two of Bernando's top 10 foods, which are cinnamon, or true cinnamon, and also broccoli. So we're going to be covering pages 115 through 122. So we've got a lot of ground to cover today. All right, so let's get right into it. So starting with page 115, cinnamon. Hey Devon, cinnamon, the gold standard of spices. As you read through these pages, you may be struck by the fact that many of the foods on my Super 10 list are not just healthy, but ancient in the extreme. The many peoples of the earth have had thousands of years to experiment and observe, and the wisdom gained over those countless generations still applies today. With that, I'd like to recommend another item that has passed the test of time, the common spice, cinnamon. History. Cinnamon is native to Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, and dates back at least 4,000 years. The Egyptians used the spice to help preserve and mummify the dead and valued it more than gold. It was highly prized throughout the Roman Empire, as well as China, where it is mentioned in writings from 2800 BC. Because of its pleasant smell and the fact that phenols contained within hinder the growth of bacteria, cinnamon found widespread use in meat preservation. Over the centuries, the spice was used not just for flavoring and aroma, but as an effective treatment for sore throats and coughs, as well as helping with digestive disorders. Even today, cinnamon is still commonly used to treat these maladies. Other ancient medicinal uses include relief from arthritis, menstrual cramps, and yeast infections. It was valued for both its antibacterial and antifungal properties, as well as a general stimulant. For those familiar with the Old Testament, you may recall that cinnamon was a prime ingredient in the special anointing oil used to anoint and sanctify the priests of the Jewish tabernacle in the days of Moses. Throughout history, the demand and relative scarcity of this aromatic spice has spurred trade and exploration. In the 15th century, cinnamon was one of the main motivations for sending out ships of exploration around the Horn of Africa and eventually to the New World. Wars have been fought over control of what was then Ceylon, so as to have a monopoly on the profitable cinnamon trade. It wasn't until 1796 that the production of the spice spread to other areas, including Java, Sumatra, and Borneo, and more recently to South America and the West Indies. Quite a journey for the lowly cinnamon stick. Recommendations. Many people might not be aware that there are two products that are typically labeled as cinnamon. The first, known as true cinnamon, is the original variety grown in Ceylon, otherwise known as Sri Lanka. The other, called Chinese cinnamon, is from the cassia plant. Though they are somewhat similar in taste and aroma, I believe that true cinnamon is of higher value when discussing its potential health benefits. It is somewhat harder to locate, at least in the United States, and the cost is higher. How to recognize the difference? Cinnamon sticks are curled around themselves telescopically, while cassia curls inward from both ends like a scroll. True ground cinnamon is tan, finely ground, and has a warm, sweet flavor. Cassia is coarser, darker red, and has a somewhat bitter, stronger taste. There is also cinnamon oil available. Do not eat this oil. It is toxic, even in small quantities. It is usually used for its scent, as in making Christmas ornaments. Okay, so now Bernando is going to talk about the benefits of true cinnamon. First and foremost, one of the most beneficial qualities of cinnamon is its ability to modify blood sugar and insulin levels. A recent study followed a number of older men and women with type 2 diabetes. After 6 weeks of using 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon per day, the group experienced a marked decrease in blood glucose levels, as well as a major drop in blood cholesterol and triglycerides. Cinnamon also provides a good source of chromium, which aids insulin activity. The spice also helps with digestion and indigestion, diarrhea, and morning sickness by helping to break up intestinal gas. Even the smell of cinnamon is beneficial. It's been shown to increase alertness, memory, and cognitive function, and even seems to act as a male aphrodisiac. Lastly, cinnamon is a potent antiseptic, antibacterial, and antifungal agent. It has proven an effective treatment against certain medications, resistant yeast infections, and destroys E. coli and salmonella when used as a food preservative. It is also a great source of fiber, manganese, iron, and calcium. Wow. Uses. My favorite use for cinnamon is as a tea. I add a stick to a cup of near boiling water and let that steep for a time, 10 minutes or so. A little honey can be added for sweetness if desired. One can continue to add hot water to the same cup and drink it during the day. I also sprinkle cinnamon over my oatmeal in the morning. It is a tasty and healthy addition to many foods. Use it as often as you can. So this is pretty amazing. Again, I'm reading from Age Less, Live More, Achieving Health and Vitality at 107 Years and Beyond. And we just talked about cinnamon. And as I was reading this, I was just remembering something that Bernando gave me a long time ago. And let me see if I've got it with me here. I think that I do. So my grandfather would, sometimes he would call me up randomly, and he would tell me, that he had something important to tell me. If I wasn't home, he'd leave me a message, and he'd say, "I've got something important to tell you. Call me." And I, of course, I always would, because he wasn't an alarmist. He wasn't that kind of a person. So one day, I got a message of that ilk, and so I called him and I was like, "What's up, Grandpa?" And he said, "Do you know how important cinnamon is? Cinnamon is very important." He said, "I am going to send you a list. I'm going to send you a piece of paper that's going to list all the medicinal properties of cinnamon, of true cinnamon." And I was like, "Okay, great." And so that's what I'm looking for right now. Of course, this came to me as I was as I am, I should say, doing this live. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that you all are well and that you are somehow beating the heat. And here it is. I found it. Yay. Okay, this is awesome. So, my grandfather didn't call me up and tell me what was going on with the stock exchange or things like that. Every time my grandfather and I would talk, it would be about health. That was our jam. We loved talking about that. We could talk about that until the cows came home. All right. Cinnamon. Okay. So now this is interesting because it also talks about combination of, wow, this is awesome. Wow. This is amazing. Okay. Okay. Let me get into this. All right. So he sent me this list, and so this is what it says. Cinnamon and honey. Honey is the only food on the planet that will not spoil or rot. It will do what some call turning to sugar. In reality, honey is always honey. However, when left in a cool, dark place for a long time, it will do what I rather call crystallizing. When this happens, I loosen the lid, boil some water, and sit the honey container in the hot water. Turn off the heat and let it liquefy. It is then as good as it ever was. Never boil honey or put it in a microwave. To do so will kill the enzymes in the honey. So now he goes, now the next thing on the list is, now that it's explained honey, it's going to talk about the cinnamon and honey combo. Bet the drug companies won't like this one getting around. And facts on honey and cinnamon. It is found that a mixture of honey and true cinnamon cures most diseases. Honey is produced in most of the countries of the world. Scientists of today also accept honey as a ramban, very effective medicine for all kinds of diseases. Honey can be used without any side effects for any kind of disease. Today's science says that even though honey is sweet, if taken in the right dosage as a medicine, it does not harm diabetic patients. This is from the Weekly World News, a magazine in Canada. In its issue dated number 17, January 1995, it had given the following list of diseases that can be cured by honey and cinnamon as researched by Western scientists. Heart diseases. Make a paste of honey and cinnamon powder. Apply on bread instead of jelly and jam and eat it regularly for breakfast. It reduces the cholesterol in the arteries and saves the patient from heart attack. Also, those who have already had an attack, if they do this process daily, they are kept miles away from the next attack. Regular use of the above process relieves loss of breath and strengthens the heartbeat. In America and Canada, various nursing homes have treated patients successfully and have found that as you age, the arteries and veins lose their flexibility and get clogged. Honey and cinnamon revitalize the arteries and veins. So, of course, as a disclaimer, I have to say that, these are the opinions of the author. And, of course, I guess before you do anything, you should check with your doctor. So, I'm just letting you know what has been passed on to me. Arthritis. Arthritis patients may take daily, morning and night, 1 cup of hot water with 2 spoons of honey and 1 small teaspoon of true cinnamon powder. If taken regularly, even chronic arthritis can be cured. In a recent research conducted at the Copenhagen University, it was found that when the doctors treated their patients with a mixture of 1 tablespoon honey and half a teaspoon of true cinnamon powder before breakfast, they found that within a week, out of the 200 people or so treated, practically speaking, 73 patients were totally relieved of pain. And within a month, mostly all the patients who could not walk or move around because of arthritis started walking without pain. So let me just repeat this recipe again, all right? So this is for arthritis. So morning and night. So it's 1 cup of hot water, and in that you put 2 spoons of honey, and then you put 1 small teaspoon of cinnamon powder, as in true cinnamon, not cassia, but true cinnamon. And if you keep that up, if you're suffering from arthritis and you've had chronic arthritis, you should start to see an improvement. Number 3, bladder infections. Take 2 tablespoons of true cinnamon powder and 1 teaspoon of honey in a glass of lukewarm water and drink it. It destroys the germs in the bladder. So, as we were reading in the beginning of this chapter, he's talking about how true cinnamon has got these antifungal, antibacterial properties to it. Let me read that again. I think that's important to go over this again. When we're talking again about true cinnamon, we're not talking about Chinese cinnamon or Vietnamese cinnamon. We're not talking about cassia. Okay, so it's been used in mummification. It hinders the growth of bacteria. It's been used for preservation. It's been used for digestive disorders, menstrual cramps, yeast infections, bladder infections. Super interesting. All right, let me keep going with this list here that Bernando shared with me. Cholesterol, 2 tablespoons of honey and 3 teaspoons of true cinnamon powder mixed in 16 ounces of tea water. So I believe that they mean that this is, hot water or warm water. Given to a cholesterol patient, was found to reduce the level of cholesterol in the blood by 10% within 2 hours. As mentioned for arthritic patients, if taken 3 times a day, any chronic cholesterol is cured. According to the information received in the said journal, pure honey taken with food daily relieves complaints of cholesterol. Colds. Those suffering from common or severe colds should take 1 tablespoon lukewarm honey with a 1/4 spoon of cinnamon powder daily for 3 days. This process will cure most chronic coughs, colds, and clear the sinuses. So I also find this super interesting because, Grandpa, he made a cinnamon tea, right? And he would drink that on a regular basis, along with the garlic that he would take, and he'd never had a cold. Upset stomach. Honey taken with cinnamon powder cures stomach ache and also clears stomach ulcers from the root. Stomach ulcers. Wow. So, honey, right? Organic honey, right? You don't want honey that's been heated up because that kills everything in it. And true cinnamon powder cures stomach ache and also clears stomach ulcers from the root. Gas, or flatulence as we like to say. According to the studies done in India and Japan, it is revealed that if honey is taken with cinnamon powder, the stomach is relieved of gas. Immune system. Daily use of honey and cinnamon powder strengthens the immune system and protects the body from bacteria and viral attacks. Scientists have found that honey has various vitamins and iron in large amounts. Constant use, or consistent use, I should say, of honey strengthens the white blood corpuscles to fight bacterial and viral diseases. So just take a look at that. So this implies that cinnamon is very important, right, in having a healthy blood cell count. So white blood cells, no bueno, right? Red blood cells, that's good. So saying again, taking this on a consistent basis. Honey with true cinnamon powder helps in the fight against bacteria, viral diseases, and strengthens the white blood corpuscles to fight. Okay. Indigestion. Cinnamon powder sprinkled on 2 tablespoons of honey taken before food relieves acidity and digests the heaviest of meals. I know for myself, because I love Indian food, I'm a vegetarian, and India has got some of the most sublime vegetarian cuisine anywhere on the planet. In fact, in my opinion, it's the best. It's got the most taste and variety and color and texture and all of that. It's very sophisticated and very good for you nutritionally. And so one of the things that I do when I'm making a soup, for example, if I'm making a dal, I will put a whole true cinnamon stick in the dal or in the soup that I'm making, because it's good for the digestion, and also just because it adds this rich undertone to the soup. You know, it adds a nice flavor to it. It adds a warmth to it, right? Okay. Influenza. A scientist in Spain has proved that honey contains a natural ingredient which kills the influenza germs and saves the patient from the flu. So I guess it's not by accident, you know, when you were sick with the flu, right, that you would be given honey, or you'd have honey be put in your tea. Longevity. Tea made with honey and cinnamon powder, when taken regularly, arrests the ravages of old age. Take 4 spoons of honey, 1 spoon of true cinnamon powder, and 3 cups of water, and boil to make a tea. Drink 1/4 cup 3 to 4 times a day. It keeps the skin fresh and soft and arrests old age. Lifespan also increases, and even a 100-year-old starts performing the chores of a 20-year-old. Okay, well, perhaps. But I can say that, you know, if there's a case for longevity here, that would be Bernando. Okay, pimples. 3 tablespoons of honey and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and you make a paste out of it, right? So you mix it thoroughly together, and then you apply the paste, you know, on your acne, right, on your pimples before sleeping, and then you wash it off the next morning with warm water. If done daily for 2 weeks, it removes pimples from the root. So you'll see people who've got like whiteheads and stuff like that, right? They're trying to get rid of it, and they're there in the mirror and they're trying to squeeze it out, right? The pus out, but then they're scarring their face, and then you still have that infection in the skin, and then it comes back, and then it's just a whole mess. So instead of doing that, if you want to cure a skin condition, if you want to, deal with pimples and acne directly, then again, just make a paste. So the ratio is 3 tablespoons of honey to 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Again, true cinnamon powder. You make a paste of it, and that you apply that on the skin. Also, honey is known to be a great humectant, right? And to keep moisture in the skin as well. A lot of women will use that in general, just as part of their beauty routine. Skin infections. Applying honey and cinnamon powder in equal parts on the affected parts cures eczema, ringworm, and all types of skin infections. Weight loss. Daily in the morning, 1/2 hour before breakfast on an empty stomach, and at night before sleeping, drink honey and cinnamon powder in 1 cup of boiled water, right? So like a tea, again. If taken regularly, it reduces the weight of even the most obese person. Also, drinking this mixture regularly does not allow the fat to accumulate in the body, even though the person may eat a high-calorie diet. So I don't know about you, but I see all these little ad infomercials on YouTube about, Himalayan salt Manjaro and blah, 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 all this type of thing. Ladies and gents, it used to be that one of the ingredients to help reduce or to control diabetes was actually cinnamon, right? So here you can kind of go to the source and you can, sort of treat your problem, directly. Of course, if you are, very obese and you are very diabetic, it's always good to work with a doctor, right? Just to help someone be there to monitor your situation. But just by doing something like this, you can help with your weight loss, because again, cinnamon is there, which helps insulin and it helps regulate blood sugar. This is reminding me actually of a story or an anecdote that Bernando told me about a conversation that he had with his own father, with Bernando Lapallo Sr., who was an MD and also an herbalist, a root doctor. And he was, basically just telling Bernando, I've got this diabetic patient, right? And so that he was helping treat the patient, through the use of true cinnamon. Stuff is fascinating. Just absolutely fascinating. Of course, you should always do everything at your own pace, right? You should always exercise, common sense and caution when you're doing something. So, if these things are an issue, right, you can just incorporate, some cinnamon tea, in the morning. Or Bernando even suggests drinking that in lieu of drinking coffee. Cancer. Recent research in Japan and Australia has revealed that advanced cancer of the stomach and bones have been cured successfully. Patients suffering from these kinds of cancer should daily take 1 tablespoon of honey with 1 teaspoon of true cinnamon powder for 1 month, 3 times a day. So there's a proportion here, there's a ratio here. I'm going to repeat it. 1 tablespoon of honey with 1 teaspoon of true cinnamon powder. And that should be taken for at least 1 month, 3 times a day. And this was specifically talking about cancer of the stomach, cancer of the bones, right? Don't they call that leukemia? And these were research that was done in Japan and Australia. So that's very interesting. Fatigue. Recent studies have shown that the sugar content of honey is more helpful rather than being detrimental to the strength of the body. Senior citizens who take honey and cinnamon powder in equal parts are more alert and flexible. Dr. Milton, who has done research, says that a half a tablespoon of honey taken in a glass of water and sprinkled with true cinnamon powder taken daily after brushing, I don't know what they mean by after brushing, and in the afternoon at about 3 p.m., where the vitality of the body starts to decrease, increases the vitality of the body within a week. So I don't know about you, but I notice for myself, when I get to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my energy can dip, right? So, instead of pounding back an espresso, right? Instead of getting a coffee, instead of getting a caffeinated drink, which is going to, keep you up later on, right? Why not try this alternative, which is, again, taking half a tablespoon of honey in a glass of water and then sprinkle it with true cinnamon powder. Try that. Try that around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and see what it does to your energy level before you reach for a cup of coffee. Bad breath. People of South America, first thing in the morning, gargle with 1 teaspoon of honey and cinnamon powder mixed in hot water so their breath stays fresh throughout the day. Hearing loss. Daily morning and night honey and cinnamon powder taken in equal parts restores hearing. That's what the claim is here. Remember when we were kids, we had toast with real butter and sprinkled on it. So anyway, this is very interesting. Now, how could this be, right? This brings to mind another research paper that I read some time ago, but it was talking about why so many Americans lose their hearing so early. And it is linked to the insane amount of sugar that Americans consume. So the thing about sugar is that it actually destroys the blood vessels, right, in the ears. It has a very detrimental effect to our cardiovascular system, amongst other things. And so, if the veins in your ears, right, are destroyed and missing, then it's going to make it impossible to hear. So hearing loss is directly associated with overconsumption of sugar, right, diabetes, and the blood vessels in our ears. Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Of course, I would imagine that it might also depend on to the degree that the damage that it has been done over time, but hey, it's worth a try. Okay, moving on to, let's see, do I have one more page here? Nope, I think I have read everything on this page that Grandpa told me about the combination of cinnamon and honey. So just to recap briefly, heart diseases, arthritis, bladder infections, cholesterol, colds, upset stomach, gas, look at influenza, longevity, acne, right, pimples, skin infections, weight loss, cancer, specifically talking about of the stomach and the bones, fatigue, bad breath, hearing loss, and one that I skipped over, the immune system. Daily use of honey and cinnamon powders strengthens the immune system. Oh no, I did mention this, but I guess someone needs to hear it, so I'm saying it again. Protects the body from bacteria and viral attacks. Wow. Okay. So I hope you got something out of that. Now it's 6:32, so I'm going to move on to the next one of Bernando's top 10 foods. And, if you visited the website, I think even on this page I may have this document posted, that cinnamon, true cinnamon, was a part of Bernando's medicine chest. So I think I will share that medicine chest doc and put it in the comment section, here if you're watching here on Facebook, if you're watching this later on YouTube. As an aside to my Facebook subscribers, or Bernando's Facebook subscribers here, Facebook has been removing live videos after a month now, because now they have a new storage policy. So this video is going to disappear. It's going to disappear, after a month or whenever Facebook decides it's going to disappear, but it seems like 30 days is a new limit. What I do is that I post this on YouTube so you can watch it on a platform that appears to be more stable, at least for now. Okay, broccoli. The 5 green fingers of Jupiter is apparently a nickname for broccoli. He says, it's a shame that broccoli seems to be so universally despised by children, and at least one recent president. If the facts were known, everyone would feel the way I do about this amazing vegetable. Very few foods can claim as many health benefits as this lowly sprout. History. Once again, we must travel back in time thousands of years to find the origin of the well-traveled stalk. Broccoli, a member of the cabbage family, appears to have its roots in what is now Turkey and the Eastern Mediterranean. When the peoples of this land eventually migrated to Italy, they settled in the Tuscan area and brought their broccoli with them. The Romans fell in love with the vegetable, calling it the 5 green fingers of Jupiter. There is a story of one of Emperor Tiberius's sons that so loved the taste of broccoli that he ate nothing else for a month. When his urine turned bright green, the emperor had to put his foot down. It was in Rome that the Calabrese variety was developed, and this is the same type that most of us enjoy today. It's also interesting, too, that apparently the Calabrians, they were the cooks for the upper crust in Rome. Interesting side note. In the early 1500s, Catherine de' Medici, of Tuscan descent, may have well introduced the vegetable to France under Henry II, whom she married. The French, as well as the English, seem to have some disdain for the dark green stalks. However, as an aside here, of course, you should save the dark green stalks, right? If you cut away like the outer hard part, you can actually juice them, right, and make a fresh green juice out of them. So Bernando always said economy, don't waste anything in the kitchen. Broccoli came to America in the mid-1700s thanks to Thomas Jefferson, the farmer president. But just like the British, Americans also turned their noses up, and so the vegetable languished until around 1920. At that point, Italian immigrants in California sent a crop to Boston, and suddenly it seemed to get the recognition it deserved. From that point on, consumption has grown briskly, especially with the amazing medical discoveries of the last 25 years. All right, so let's talk about his recommendations. Hi, Lucy. Hey, Australia. Okay. Like any other produce, I always recommend searching out the best quality organic broccoli you can find. Better yet, this is another of those easy to grow vegetables that do fairly well in many areas of the country. If you have an open spot in your garden, try your hand at this cool weather plant. Broccoli is best served raw or slightly steamed after being well washed. Boiling, microwaving, or other cooking methods will essentially destroy most of the vitamins and minerals contained within. Also, never throw away the stalks if you can help it. I have a good quality juicer and always try to use every part of what I buy, leaving nothing to waste. Broccoli stalks, celery crowns, most anything can be used to make a delicious and nutritious drink. Benefits. An entire book could be written just on the health benefits of broccoli. Study after study over the last couple of decades have proven out what the Romans have known all along. These little crowns are good for you. Broccoli contains a wealth of vitamins, minerals, and other healthy compounds. In fact, it is said that broccoli packs the biggest nutritional punch of any vegetable. It is rich in vitamin C, beta-carotene, calcium, iron, fiber, and compounds called phytochemicals. It is also a good source of chromium, which has been shown to prevent adult diabetes. Many of the compounds in broccoli appear to help detoxify the body and boost the production of certain enzymes. These enzymes can reduce the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and osteoporosis. A type of fiber within this vegetable has been shown to aid the liver in holding and eliminating cholesterol instead of releasing it into the bloodstream. Eating substantial amounts of broccoli has been linked to a reduced risk of aggressive prostate and colon cancer. In fact, Many cancers seem to be affected by the various phytochemicals within, and specifically one called sulforaphane. Okay. Yeah, so Bernando was very, very keen on eating green vegetables. I mean, I talk about it all the time and people are always asking it, but green vegetables, he basically had green vegetables 3 times a day. He would have green vegetables in that powdered form in the morning with his superfood plus smoothie. If you read the ingredients, you'll see that there's loads of greens in that. Also, different kinds of seaweed and algae, right? Then he would have a green salad, or, yes, he would have a green salad, and he also loved broccoli, he loved asparagus, he loved spinach, always greens. But in this case, he's pointing out the benefits, in particular, of broccoli. Because he says, eating substantial amounts of broccoli has been linked to a reduced risk of aggressive prostate, guys, and colon cancer. In fact, many cancers seem to be affected by the various phytochemicals within, and specifically one called sulforaphane. So I know I repeated myself there, but I felt that it was worth repeating twice. Okay, so let's talk about the uses and how Bernando used it. I use broccoli in salads and lightly steam next to fish or whatever else I might be having. I try not to waste anything and juice the stalks and leaves, which contain nutrients of their own, some of them unique to those parts of the plant. So when it comes to the wonderful fingers of Jupiter, this is one time when it pays to listen to your mother. Eat your broccoli. Okay. Let me see. Interestingly enough, he goes on to talk about cabbage, right? So, broccoli and cabbage are related. But I'm gonna hold off on talking about cabbage until our next time. So, if you're Italian, if you're an Italian American, you know all about the preparation of broccoli. So again, Bernando would steam it, right, lightly. You can cut it up and you can steam it lightly, just so it kind of turns into a bright green, right? You don't want to cook it to the point where it loses all its color. He would also lightly saute it in extra virgin olive oil, right? He would do the same with his asparagus and the same with his spinach. Another really tasty way, of course, is to consume broccoli is to chop up, right, some fresh garlic, mince it, and then just sprinkle that over on top of the broccoli. Any of you who frequent old school Italian restaurants, you know that when they serve you broccoli, R-A-B-E, right, that there's plenty of garlic on that. So that's a fun way to eat broccoli, short of juicing it. Let me see. If there's anything else I wanted to say about broccoli. Not really. Okay, so it's 6:43 now, so I just want to go through here and see who has been so kind to join this evening. So shout out to Devon D. Hoskins, the Royal Queen Anne. Welcome, Royal Queen Anne. Bernardo Harmon, thank you for being here. Anna Pereira Martinez, thank you for being here. Jean Woods in the house, thank you for being here. John Edward Ladson II is here. Cynthia Brown Williams is here, thank you for being here. Carrie Huft Lantieri is watching, thank you. Andrea Christman is watching. Lucy, all the way from Australia, is watching. And Cindy Larson is watching today. So, what else can I say? Oh yeah, I wanted to share something with you guys today. Right. So, I took advantage of the free shipping that the American Botanical Pharmacy or Dr. Schultz had over the July 4th holiday. and I got myself the 5-day liver detox. And today is my first day doing it. And I have to say, I feel great. I already feel, cleaner. I live in a big city, right? And we've got exhaust and we've got all kinds of things going on here. But just in our environment in general, is very, very polluted. So Bernando would do a liver detox 3 or 4 times a year. And if you look at some photos of Bernando, you'll notice that he doesn't have that gut. You'll notice that with older men, right? They'll be straight like this, and then it goes, and then it goes like back down, right? So that gut that you see in older people, and it seems to be in older men in particular, and it seems to be particularly in older men that like to drink a lot of beer, that is actually their liver. That is their liver that has become so engorged with toxins, right, that it is, it's in bad shape, because the liver can be kind of like a sponge, right? So if you don't clean it out properly and take care of it, it's interesting that the word live is in the word liver, that's what's going to happen to it. So a lot of diseases and aches and pains and even cellulite and dull skin can be avoided, just by taking care of your liver a few times a year. If you've got some downtime. Also, another way you could do it too is like, maybe do it on the weekends if you've got a couple of days off, and just take that time to do the self-care. So I'm just going to show you what's in the kit here. So this is the detox tea. It actually smells, I actually really like the smell of the tea. It's billed here as a traditional digestive and cleansing tea, is how he describes it. So I have been drinking, so far I've drunk 4 cups of this tea today with, because we're doing a detox, with the liver gallbladder formula. So what I'm doing now essentially is that I am not only cleaning my liver, I'm also cleaning my gallbladder. People also get their gallbladders removed because it can become painful because they're in a diseased condition. All right. So the technique basically for this, very briefly, is that for this detox is that he's advising that you put in several heaping teaspoons in distilled or purified water, and you let that sit overnight, and then the next morning you just bring it to a boil, and then you let it simmer for 15 minutes, and then you drink 2 cups of that, with this tincture in it. So I've been doing that. I've already done this twice today, and I'm up for one more after I finish this live video with y'all. I'm going to be doing that again. The other thing that comes with it is this detox formula, which is a blood and lymph cleanser, right? So it's very important to keep your lymph cleansed. Also, Bernando walked all the time, so that's important. And then the other thing that it comes with, which is cute, is that it comes with his little fresh breath formula, because sometimes when you're going through a detox, right, different odors and stuff can come out of your body, because you're trying to get rid of the garbage in there, and this stuff is very effective. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that if you get this, there is a guidebook. There is a little pamphlet in here which you must read. Yes, you must read this before you start. So there's different, quote, levels of participation, as it were, meaning, what you're going to be consuming, alongside the detox. But also, very importantly, is that there is a liver gallbladder flush drink that he recommends that you take. And so essentially, the liver gallbladder flush drink is made with organic citrus juice, right, like orange juice, and then 1 clove of garlic, and then fresh ginger, 1 inch of fresh organic ginger, and 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. So each day you're going to have the liver gallbladder flush. You get up and you drink your fresh water, then you're going to have your liver gallbladder flush, and then after that you're going to start to go through the process of, drinking the teas with the tinctures and all of that. And every day of the flush, when you make it, each day you're going to add 1 more clove of garlic. So the first day it's 1 clove of garlic. The second day it's 2 cloves of garlic added. The third day, 3 cloves of garlic. The fourth day, 4 cloves of garlic. And the fifth day, 5 cloves of garlic, right? So this is a super duper cleansing detox flush. So you're probably aware of the fact that garlic is also very high in vitamin C, right? And also that it has all kinds of antibacterial properties. So what you're trying to do here is really kind of get right down to the nitty-gritty and flush all of that stuff out. I think in the past I have posted some images of an unhealthy liver. Not good. But if you catch it in time, the liver is an organ that can actually rejuvenate. The liver is the only organ in the body that if it actually gets cut, that it can actually grow back. What I may not have mentioned also as part of, actually I did mention it, but also I'm taking 3 droppers full of this detox formula, separately, right? So I would advise when you choose to do this program that you do it in a place where you can be peaceful, you can be relaxed, because you will be going to the restroom. There is a lot of urinating, but that's to get all of this out. So I am looking forward to get rid of, the little cellulite that I've been seeing on my thighs, right? And I'm looking forward to get a little bit more of a glow to my skin, and just helping myself along with a little weight loss, not a lot, but a little. So it is now 6:52 p.m. Let me see. Thank you, Lucy. Really appreciate your love and support. Also, BBDC is watching. Thank you very much for being here. So if you're just tuning in now, after I save this video, Facebook will take a little time and then it will upload it in its entirety. There was a lot of really fun tips in here. Again, please exercise common sense. If you have, a health condition, make sure that you work alongside with your doctor when you're doing something. That's something I have to tell you, right? It's usually not a good idea to do anything in extremes. I've been a vegetarian for most of my life. Officially since I was 18. I would have done it sooner if I could have. I'm 62 now, and I've been doing these things for a really long time, right? So, you have to be gentle with yourself, you have to be understanding with yourself, you have to be compassionate with yourself. And again, I recommend, like Bernando recommended, the American Botanical Pharmacy herbal products because they're wild crafted, because there's no pesticides in them, and also because Dr. Schultz doesn't skimp out on the ingredients that are put into it, right? This stuff is really potent, and when you use any of his products, if you've been getting most of your stuff from the health food store, you're definitely going to notice a big difference. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing and commenting below, and again, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I will see you next month, because we all know that August 17th is Bernando's birthday month. Bye-bye now.